Hey everybody, this is Mike with Freeman Photography, and this is another story behind the shot. But just real quick, if you're interested in coming out on a private photography workshop in Grand Teton or Yellowstone National Park, check out the link in the description. And so I'm not going to bug you with that too much, so let's jump right in. So this image is of a black bear up in the South Fork of the Teton Mountains. I often have a hard time getting good wildlife shots while I'm out hiking, and part of that reason is just because ideal hiking weather is clear blue sky, and that doesn't make for good photography lighting. In addition to that, I don't see a whole lot of wildlife while hiking. I see a lot more on the roadsides versus on the trail, and so occasionally you can get some good stuff along the trail, but a lot of the best stuff comes from not too far off the road, which is ideal for private photography workshops, wink wink. But in this case, there was a black bear at the top of South Fork of Cascade Canyon as I was backpacked up there and camping. Wasn't too concerned about it. A couple of Crest Trail hikers had told me that there was a black bear a little bit up the trail at another campsite, so I went to check it out, make sure it wasn't being a problem or looking for food, or at least human food. In this case, it was looking for bear food. And so didn't seem much of a concern and enjoyed getting a couple of shots, keeping a respectful distance and not getting too close to it, of course. And what I do like about this shot is it's just this nice black bear in a natural habitat. It's not a predictable location. It's just more doing its thing in a high altitude canyon up in the mountains. And it's just a nice portrait with a little bit of its environment included into it. So as the sun started getting lower, I went back to my campsite and I started to wonder, is the fact that that bear's there going to keep me awake? I know how to act in bear country. Everything was stored securely. Everything was put away. Anything with a scent was in the bear canister. I've been doing this for years, so I wasn't worried about attracting a bear. I was more worried that if I heard a sound in the middle of the night, would my immediate reaction be, oh, I forgot to do something, that bear's coming to get me, kind of thing. So I toyed with that for a little bit, and as the sun was starting to set, I decided to go check on it again, and just to kind of put my mind at ease. Was it farther away? Was it getting closer? Just wanted to see to kind of put my mind at ease. As I was leaving my campsite, there was a mom and a cub in the opposite direction. And that's when I decided 3 bears is just too many. On top of that, there are 4 campsites at the top of the South Fork of Cascade Canyon, and I was the only one camped up there. Had there been some other campers, might have felt a little bit more secure, but being the only one up there with 3 bears essentially surrounding my campsite, I decided that was too much. Again, I probably would have been totally fine, wasn't doing anything wrong, had everything put away like I was supposed to, but just the thought of having 3 bears wandering around my campsite meant I probably wasn't going to get a whole lot of sleep that night. So after sunset, I packed up and moved farther down the South Fork and was lucky enough to find an open site farther down where I didn't really see much wildlife. So set up camp again, with this time with the stars out. Managed to sleep a lot better that night. So that is the story behind this shot. In terms of things that I would do differently, not a whole lot. I mean, there's a lot of brush that does sort of interfere a little bit with the bear, but at the same time, it gives it its place, its perspective, its environment. I'm not too bothered by it, but I would have liked to waited maybe a little bit longer to see if it had come out, just to separate it out from that brush just a little bit more and the trees and things like that. But at the same time, I'm happy. It's still a good portrait. In terms of the settings, I probably could have made them a little bit more generous toward a portrait of a bear, or subject in this case. For this shot, I had the aperture at f7.1, which I probably could have brought down a little bit more to put a little bit more separation between the bear and those nearby trees. The ISO is at 3200 because, as I said, the sun was setting, so the light was low. The sun was already behind the Tetons. It hadn't officially set yet, but it was behind the Tetons, which meant that there wasn't a lot of light to work with. So I did have to push that ISO up. Opening up that aperture a little bit more probably would have compensated a little bit, because that also only left me with 1/100th of a shutter, which is kind of pushing it if that bear is going to be moving. I did have a few blurred shots of the leg moving or something, so it wasn't ideal, and I would have liked another chance to redo those settings a little bit just to kind of tweak them a little bit more. But overall, it's still not a bad shot, and it came out just fine, but probably could have been just a little bit better had I worked with it a little bit more. And this was shot on my Canon R5 using a lens that I like to take backpacking with me. It's like a mid-range 70 to 30 millimeters. It's lightweight, but it also produces some pretty good results. Doesn't do great in low light, but managed to get this one, so it worked just fine for this scenario. So that is the story behind this shot. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you want to come on a private photography workshop with me, check out the link in the description. And thanks for watching, and happy trails.